in the threefold nature of life, beginning, middle, and end, do you find yourself the least comfortable with endings? And as we sit in this moment right now and you look at your life, whether it's your career or personal relationships or family relationships, are you finding that you're encountering a lot of endings, which is not unusual? My name is Sylvia Mordini. Welcome to the Inspire series. So often when we are in a flow of endings, you'll find all sorts of projects and situations in your life also ending simultaneously. And for some of our cultures, we are basically not educated to be comfortable with endings. Now, I've lived in Southeast Asia for over a decade, and there are cultures there that the ending of life, the impermanence of our own history is absolutely normal. This is something that you grow up comfortable with because going to ceremonies and acknowledging the endings is just normalized for everyone from the time that you're a child. But for many of us in Western cultures, we are not comfortable with going to funerals. We're not comfortable talking about the ending of a job. We are ashamed when a relationship ends and expires. And so it's been not something that we've grown up feeling like we can talk about it. And then therefore it's creating a sense of resistance to endings. And one of the things that strikes me the most is so many of us, when we have experienced success, we somehow create this narrative that once you start something successful, it just has to continue on for eternity until you leave this life. It's like, wow, I'm doing great in this job or this profession, and because I'm having success in it, that's it. I just have to keep going and going and going and going and going with it. I can't let it end. I can't be done with what's done, even if internally you're not feeling an alignment with that particular career choice any longer or that particular situation. And this does us so much harm because we then push ourselves to move through that resistance and meet it over and over and over, rather than acknowledging that this is a sign that this relationship, the circumstance, where you live, this job, career, are reaching its conclusion. It is ending, and that's okay. Endings are a natural part of the threefold nature of beginning, middle, and end. Initiating is that first stage, and for so many of us, we're really great at initiating, starting, whether it's cleaning out the garage or starting a project at home or starting a new job, the beginning and the honeymoon phase of any relationship. And we're really good at that. But then the next stage, sustaining, maintaining that job, the enthusiasm, the career, the relationship, to keep going with cleaning out the garage. Sometimes we're not that excited about the sustaining energy and the middle stage. And then we're the least comfortable with completing, finishing, being done with what is done, and letting the cycle just reach its natural conclusion of beginning, middle, and end, initiating, sustaining, and completing. And you can see, like on my wrist, I have bracelets that I wear that have red, white, and black. The threefold nature is part of the Balinese culture, and that's why you'll often see me wearing these as a reminder, right? Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are the archetypes that this represents: beginning, middle, and end, initiating, sustaining, and then completion. Or other ways to say that is the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. And if you're uncomfortable with endings, are you uncomfortable with this concept of destruction? And I want to share a little bit about the butterfly. And I I didn't understand to what degree the butterfly represented the symbol of transformation, right? And animal medicine um, and shamanism. But it's not just because it goes from the larvae to the butterfly. It's that in that process of transformation from one to the next evolution of itself, it goes through absolute and utter destruction, except for one cell. There's this moment where between death and complete destruction to continuing its life, it's just one cell left. Every other cell in its previous form is let go, transformed, transmuted, so it can become the butterfly. And it's a really powerful parable that the more comfortable we get with endings, then the better we get at initiating and making new beginnings. If we do not create the space for something to end, then there's no room in our life for something to begin. One of the most powerful journaling prompts that I want to offer you is this: what in my life needs to die for something to be born? What in my life right now needs to die for something to be born? I think that resonates with me so deeply, because it's not just saying, what do I need to let go of? What has expired? What am I releasing? But it's the words and the impact of those chosen words and the meaning that I attribute to those words. What needs to die? And it took me a long time not to get triggered by that journaling prompt and think that that's just too harsh. You know, I don't want to think about something dying in my life. And then I had to turn around and go, like, why don't I want to think about something dying in my life? Why am I so uncomfortable with the term dying, or something that is reaching its conclusion, destruction, for something to be born, like the butterfly? And I've had to do that work. So I offer it to you as just some insight that may be resonating, right, from my human experience to your human experience. But it's, I think, also powerful because it's so resolute that this is not a kind of sort of, maybe I'm over this. And we have examples maybe in your life where we have friends, they've been in a relationship, it's toxic, it's not healthy, and then the two people break up, and then they get back together, and they break up, and they get back together, and they just go through this constant churning. They cannot just let it die and be done. And then they become enmeshed and completely entangled, right? Karmically and otherwise. And then neither can they go forward in healthy relationships with other people, right? So there are ceremonies in those situations like cord cutting that are helpful, that we can literally cut the cords and we can be graceful and say, thank you. Thank you for your time in my life. Thank you for the lessons, both easy and hard. Thank you. And now this relationship in this way, in this moment, is done. Now, what's amazing about that is that you can use that not just in the container of breaking apart and going your separate ways, but also in any healthy relationship that you want to see continue. There are moments where there are egoic deaths in that relationship, when we have to let the relationship die the way it is for it to be renegotiated, and you can choose each other again in a new way with new non-negotiables and values and foundational elements, right? But if you think you're just going to continue to build upon what's not working and then somehow get it to work, That's not a formula for happiness in relationship. We need to literally give grace and gratitude and acknowledge the other person, and the relationship is over. It is done the way it is right now in this moment. And then if you choose each other again, great in that way, or great equally if it's renegotiated in a different fashion. So any relationship, whether it's parent and child, whether it's siblings, co-workers, or romantic relationship, is well served to allow these deaths in that relationship container to occur, so that then it can be a healthier biosystem for you to live in and to experience. In your garden, if a plant is not doing well and gets sick and gets this illness to it, you don't let that plant stay in the garden and just be like, yeah, I'm just going to let everything die now. Instead, you weed the garden. Or if it's an orchard, you say, okay, this apple tree has this disease and now I have to remove it and let it be done, and thank it for all its years of offering and creating these beautiful apples. But now this identity is complete and over. So in relationships, it's the same way. What has to die for something to be born? But maybe it's also for you in your work life, right? Have you ever considered that you're overstaying? That the job, your role, your identity in this job, that your usefulness to the job is over. And you're just coasting along just because it's easy, and we get complacent and it's same, and it's not being helpful to the organization. It's not helpful and fulfilling for you. But to get to that point and have the maturity to say, I think my service here is complete in the way that we saw this and talked about it at the beginning, when we initiated this career track or this work relationship. And now I think I could better serve you in other ways, maybe within the same organization, or you shake hands, gratitude, and then go to serve another organization. But to just overstay, even when you know that it is no longer helpful in either direction, towards you or from you, in service to the organization, it just doesn't serve. So are you overstaying in a job right now? Are you overstaying? Have you stayed beyond the expiration date in where you're living? I mean, everything in our pantries and our refrigerators have expiration dates. It tells you the exact date. Don't eat this after this date. Good until this date. And then I'm pretty certain that most of us aren't going to say, oh yeah, I see the date, but I'm just going to eat it anyway after the expiration date. But why don't we eat something that's expired, that's in our pantry or our refrigerator? It's easy. It's not good for you. The reason those expiration dates are there is that now this food that was healthy and good for you has now reached that point that it's not only not medicine for your body, it can be poison for your body. It can and will make you sick. And we don't seem to argue with that. We don't have a problem saying yeah, I shouldn't eat these things that have expired. Well, then why do we have a problem with the endings in our occupation, relationship, or where you're living? Have you felt that your time in this home you're in, apartment, house, whatever it may be, it's expired. And where it was good and you felt good and it was medicine for you, living in that place, in that community, in that home, it was really good and healthy. And then now you've overstayed, and it's not only not good for you, it's actually poisonous, bad, and toxic for you. Just like food has an expiration, the places that we live can have an expiration. And the sooner we honor that, the better for you and for any other parties involved, right? Because what if you could be happier? Making a new beginning. What if you could be happier and healthier in a different community, in a different home, a different city, a different state, a different country for that matter? What if? But if you just hold on and stay resistant, like I can't move, this is where I'm at, then the toxicity will only increase and will only make it less and less healthy for you to feel like you're not constantly trying to like swim upstream. Now, we don't know how long things have in terms of expiration dates. Sometimes they're short, medium, long, but you know when you know, if you tap into your intuition. The signs are there, right? The signs are always there. Whether it's you're living somewhere and every year you spend 2 months of the season of winter with a cold, and you're like, oh, this is just normal. I just will always have a cold for weeks on end during the winter season. Is that normal? Or is that a sign that maybe that climate is not good for you, right? What if you could not get a cold for 6 to 8 weeks of the year? That would be a sign that there may be some place that's even better and healthier for you. How great is that? But if you refuse to make peace with the endings and even face your discomfort of the endings, then you may never know that there is something better, something healthier for you. And it's just right there, just having to take a chance and change something. So what needs to die for something to be born in my life? If you didn't have to live where you're living, and you take out all the reasons why you can't leave, oh, it's my job, oh, it's my family, oh, it's this, it's that, the other, like, you take all of that out. Could there possibly be a place that you would be happier in terms of size, climate, location, country? And I would hazard to guess that yes, there is. But if you're just holding on to where you are, you'll never get to experience that. Or you'll experience it so late in life that you'll say, gosh, why didn't I make this move sooner? I hear that all the time, just where I'm living here in Florida in the United States. Like, I should have moved here 10 years ago. I've heard that so many times, if not 20 years ago. And I ask people, well, why didn't you? And all the reasons that you're thinking of are the same reasons that they came up with. And now looking back and connecting the dots backwards, they're like, yeah, none of that was a viable reason to overstay in a location that was making me miserable, or certainly not contributing to my greater happiness and good health. So think about it. Whether it's a relationship, or it's a job situation, or it's where you're living, what is the relationship you have with endings? In teaching yoga for over 20 years, the last pose, if you ever taken a yoga class, is called Shavasana. And it looks like you're just sleeping. You're lying on your back and resting. It's a great pose. It's what brought me back to my second and third and fourth yoga classes. But the purpose of Shavasana, which is called corpse pose, is the translation, is to help teach us how to be as graceful in endings as we are in beginnings. That's it. How to honor the endings, how to be honorable when something ends and concludes. Just as we're on our most beautiful, best behavior, presenting ourselves the best when we're initiating a relationship, whether it's a job or romantic or moving into a new home or neighborhood. But can we be equally as graceful and honorable when the circumstance has met its expiration, so that we don't overstay, and yet we honor it to a feeling of being just satiated, and now it's time. It's time to begin again, which is one of my favorite mantras. I begin again. I begin again. But that mantra and the practice of it is only as strong as we make peace with endings, conclusions, and letting things reach their natural expiration date. And instead of fighting that, just letting it be integrated, the ending and the beginning, and then we form a circle, right? The threefold nature, the circle of life. So as you sit here right now, just take a big breath in. Welcome the inhalation, the beginning. Hold the breath in at the top, the sustaining energy. And then exhale through your nose or your mouth, the ending. Hold the breath out, and for a moment, just feel what it's like to be empty. That sacred pause before now, inhale and begin again. Hold the breath in, the sustaining energy. Exhale, releasing, letting go. And then hold the breath out, bottom of the breath. To learn to be as graceful in endings and conclusions. And then inhale again. So try this breath practice to help you make peace with endings, conclusions, and even that feeling of emptiness, so that you can feel that sacred pause and know that your life is so ripe with opportunities to begin again, especially as it relates to the places in your life that the contract you signed is giving you permission to say thank you and be done. I hope that this has been supremely helpful to get you thinking about it, at the very least, your relationships with endings and how you can use that in your life right now. From my heart to your heart to the heart of the universe, may you love yourself, love your day, and love your life. And if you are inspired by this video, please subscribe. And this is the Inspire series. You'll see the playlist. The subscription button is below, so click on it and also ring the bell to get your notifications for new videos for this weekly series. But it's always a joy and a pleasure to be with you all. Much love.